Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. We'd love to go deep on the latest research, and you shared this paper with us. Automate strategy finding with LLM in quant investment. So I think it's safe to say we're both pretty fascinated by this world of AI and finance.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like everyone's talking about AI these days, and for good reason. The potential is huge, particularly when you start thinking about how it could change the game in investing.
Right, and this paper really dives into the nitty-gritty. It's not just hype. It's about researchers actually putting these ideas to the test. So to kick things off, let's talk about the problem they're trying to solve.
Well, at its core, it's the age-old quest for alpha. Finding those signals that give you an edge in the market. That's what quant investing is all about.
And we've talked before about how traditional quant strategies can be pretty rigid, relying on historical data and fixed models.
Exactly. And those approaches might struggle to keep up in today's market where things are changing so rapidly. Plus, you have all these new data sources popping up like social media sentiment or news articles that traditional methods just aren't equipped to handle.
So that's where these large language models, or LLMs, come in. They can process all that unstructured data stuff that would make a traditional quant model's head spin.
Right. And the researchers in this paper actually created their own custom LLM. They call it Alpha Grail. Pretty catchy name, right?
I like it. It sounds like something out of Arthurian legend.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really cool is that they go beyond just analyzing text. They're using AlphaGrail to pull insights from things like trading charts, almost like it's learning to see the market visually.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing. They're essentially training AI to recognize patterns that humans might miss and then use those patterns to make predictions about future market movement.
Okay, so we've got this powerful AI crunching numbers and spotting patterns, but the paper also mentions something called a multi-agent system. What's that all about?
So imagine you have a team of experts, each with their own area of specialization. You've got your fundamental analysts, your technical traders, your risk managers, and so on.
And they're all working together to come up with the best investment strategy.
Precisely. Each agent in the system evaluates the signals that Alpha Grail uncovers, and they each bring their own perspective to the table.
So it's not just one algorithm making all the calls. It's more like a diverse group of AI experts weighing in with their own opinions.
Exactly. And that's what makes this approach so powerful. It's not about finding a single right answer. It's about considering a range of possibilities and then tailoring a strategy that fits your individual risk profile.
Okay, so this personalized aspect is really intriguing. It's like having a custom-made investment plan built by AI. But how do you actually choose which strategy is right for you? Does the system just throw a bunch of data at you and say, good luck?
No, it's actually much more user-friendly than that. The multi-agent system takes into account your risk tolerance, your investment goals, and even your existing portfolio. It's about aligning the AI's insights with your individual circumstances.
So it's not just about picking winners. It's about finding the right winners for you. That's a pretty powerful concept. But let's be honest. How do we know we can trust these AI-generated signals? I mean, we've all heard stories about algorithms going haywire in the stock market.
It's a valid concern, and that's why the researchers built in this confidence score system. It essentially acts as a filter, assessing the reliability of each signal that AlphaGrail generates.
So it's not just about the AI spitting out numbers. It's about being able to trust those numbers and knowing where they're coming from.
Exactly. And this confidence score helps to weed out potential hallucinations or unreliable data, which is always a risk with these large language models.
That makes sense. So it's like having a built-in bullshit detector for your AI. That's reassuring.
But I'm guessing the researchers didn't just stop at theory. They actually put this whole thing to the test, right? Oh, yeah. They back-tested their LLM-powered strategy on the SSE 50 index, a major stock index in China, and the results were pretty impressive.
Okay, spill the beans. What kind of performance are we talking about here?
Well, in 2023, their system achieved a positive return of 53.17%, while the index itself actually lost almost 12%. So we're talking about a massive difference in performance.
Wow, that's a pretty compelling argument in favor of AI-driven investing. But can you give us a more concrete example of what these strategies actually look like? What kind of signals are we talking about?
Sure, they highlight one example where they combine 12 different alphas or market signals uncovered by Alpha Grail. And these alphas included things like price momentum, company earnings, even analyst sentiment, all sorts of factors that could potentially influence stock prices.
So it's like each alpha represents a different piece of the puzzle, and the AI figures out how to put them all together.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that they found that even removing seemingly insignificant alphas from the mix could drastically impact the overall performance.
So it's not just about finding individual signals. It's about how they all interact with each other. That's where this idea of AI exceeding human capabilities starts to get really interesting.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the key takeaways from this paper. It's not about AI replacing humans. It's about AI augmenting human intelligence and helping us to make better decisions.
That's a great point. It's about finding that sweet spot where AI and human expertise can work together to achieve something truly remarkable.
And that's what we're going to explore further in the next part of our deep dive. We'll take a closer look at how these multi-agent systems actually work and what it means for the future of investing.
Sounds good. I'm already hooked. All right, so we've got these multi-agent systems with their AI experts all working together.
Yeah.
But how does that actually play out in practice? Are we talking like a virtual boardroom with AI arguing over stock picks?
Well, it's not quite as dramatic as that, but the analogy is pretty good. Each agent brings its own expertise to the table. You might have one focused on fundamental analysis, like digging into a company's financials.
Okay, so like really getting into the nitty-gritty of balance sheets and cash flows.
Exactly. While another agent might specialize in technical indicators, looking for patterns in price charts and trading volumes.
So you've got this whole spectrum of AI expertise all contributing to the decision-making process.
Right. And it's not just about taking a vote or anything like that. Each agent generates its own predictions and assigns a confidence score based on its analysis.
So it's like each AI expert is saying, I am this certain that this stock is going to go up, or I think this sector is about to take a hit.
Precisely. And the system then weighs those scores, considering each agent's track record and specialization. So it's not just a majority rule situation.
So even if most of the AI agents are bullish on a particular stock, the system might give more weight to a dissenting voice if that agent has a history of being right in similar situations.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the wisdom of the crowd, but also recognizing that sometimes the lone wolf has a better perspective.
That's really interesting. So it's like the system is learning to trust certain agents more than others based on their past performance. But how does this all translate into actionable insights for investors? Does it just spit out a list of stocks to buy or sell?
No, it's much more nuanced than that. Remember, the goal is to create personalized strategies. So the system also takes into account your risk tolerance, your investment goals, your existing portfolio. It's about aligning the AI's insights with your individual circumstances.
So it's not just about picking winners, it's about finding the right winners for you. That's a pretty powerful concept. But does this mean we all need to become AI experts to manage our money in the future?
Not at all. That's the beauty of this technology. The goal is to make it more accessible and user-friendly.
So you're not expecting us to all learn how to code our own AI algorithms?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Think of it more like using a sophisticated financial planning app or platform.
Where the AI does all the heavy lifting in the background, but the interface is simple and intuitive for the user.
Exactly. And as this technology continues to evolve, I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of seamless integration.
That makes sense. But let's be realistic here. There are always risks involved with investing. How do we know these AI systems won't make costly mistakes? I mean, we've all heard those stories about algorithms going haywire in the stock market.
Oh, absolutely. Those concerns are completely valid. And that's why transparency is so important. As these systems become more complex, we need to be able to understand how they're making decisions.
So it's not just about blindly trusting the AI, it's about having enough insight to make informed choices.
Exactly. It's like the old saying, trust but verify. You want to be able to look under the hood, so to speak, and see what's driving the AI's recommendations.
But how realistic is that? Can we really expect complex AI systems to be transparent? I mean, isn't that kind of counterintuitive?
It's definitely a challenge, but researchers are working on ways to make these systems more interpretable.
So is that like creating a reasoning trail that shows the steps the AI took to arrive at its conclusions?
Exactly, so that human analysts can audit the process and make sure it's sound.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about finding the right balance between leveraging the power of AI and maintaining human oversight. But let's say these systems do become more transparent and accessible. What does that mean for the average investor? Will we all need to become coding experts to manage our money?
I think the opposite is true, actually. These technologies have the potential to make investing more accessible and less intimidating for the everyday person.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by all the jargon and complexity, you'd have AI helping to break things down and make it all understandable.
Exactly. Imagine AI-powered tools that translate complex financial data into plain English and help you understand the risks and potential rewards of different strategies.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling like you need a PhD in finance to invest, you'd have AI as your guide and translator.
Precisely. It's about democratizing access to sophisticated investment strategies that were previously only available to the Wall Street elite.
That's a pretty exciting prospect.
Hmm.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Won't this create an uneven playing field? If some investors have access to these powerful AI tools, won't they have an unfair advantage over those who don't?
It's a valid concern, and it highlights the importance of responsible development and deployment. As AI becomes more integrated into finance, we need to ensure that access is equitable and that safeguards are in place to prevent misuse.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and who has access to it. That's a really important point. But what about the impact on financial professionals? Will these AI systems eventually replace human jobs?
I think it's more about augmenting human capabilities rather than replacing them entirely.
So like AI handling the tedious number crunching tasks, freeing up humans to focus on the more strategic and creative aspects of their work.
Exactly. AI can do the heavy lifting in terms of data analysis and pattern recognition.
Yeah.
But it's still humans who provide the insights, the intuition, the judgment calls that drive successful investing.
So instead of spending all their time staring at spreadsheets, financial professionals can focus on building relationships, understanding their clients' needs, and providing personalized advice. That's a much more fulfilling way to work.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key to the future of finance. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about finding ways for them to work together effectively.
This has been a fascinating exploration of the multi-agent world. We've gone from AI boardrooms to personalized portfolios, and even touched on the ethical considerations of this technology.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to take a look at some real-world examples of how AI is being used in finance today. It's already happening, and it's pretty amazing stuff.
Sounds good. Can't wait. So we've talked a lot about AI transforming quant investing, building those personalized strategies. But where else is AI popping up in the financial world? Is this all still kind of futuristic, or are we seeing real-world examples already?
Oh, it's definitely happening right now. And in ways that are a lot more practical than you might think. Like fraud detection, for example. That's a huge area where AI is making a real difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. With so much happening online these days, it seems like the perfect place for AI to step in, sift through mountains of data and spot those suspicious transactions.
Exactly. It's about volume, right? AI can handle the sheer volume of data that would just overwhelm human analysts. It can analyze millions of transactions in real time, looking for those subtle patterns that might indicate fraudulent activity.
So it's like having a superpowered security guard, watching over every single transaction 24/7, way more efficient than relying on humans to catch everything.
Exactly. And it's not just about catching the bad guys. AI is also being used to improve customer service. Those chatbots that pop up when you visit a website or use an app?
Yes, sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not so helpful. I've
Yeah.
definitely had some frustrating experiences with chatbots.
Sure, but they're getting better all the time.
Yeah.
The AI powering these chatbots is becoming increasingly sophisticated. They can answer basic questions, provide account information, even help resolve issues, often without any human intervention at all.
So instead of waiting on hold for an eternity listening to that awful elevator music, you could be chatting with an AI that actually solves your problem in a matter of seconds. That sounds pretty good to me.
Right. It's about making things faster, easier, more efficient for the customer. But what about the more complex stuff, like financial advice? Can AI really replace a human advisor? That's a question a lot of people are asking.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of trust and rapport that you build with a human advisor. It's hard to imagine getting that same level of personalized attention from an algorithm.
I agree. It's not about replacing human advisors, but rather empowering them with better tools.
Yeah.
AI can analyze vast amounts of market data, economic indicators, even individual client profiles to provide more personalized, data-driven recommendations.
So it's like having a supercharged research assistant working alongside the human advisor, crunching numbers, spotting trends, identifying opportunities that the advisor might have missed.
Exactly. It's about combining the best of both worlds, human expertise and AI-powered insights. And this benefits the investors too because they get more informed advice, more tailored strategies, and potentially better outcomes.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not a question of AI versus humans. It's about finding the right balance, the right synergy between the two. But with all this talk about AI taking over, is there still a role for human intuition and expertise in finance?
Oh, absolutely. While AI excels at analyzing data and identifying patterns, there are certain aspects of investing that still require human judgment.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, things like understanding market sentiment, assessing geopolitical risks, evaluating the leadership of a company, these are all areas where human insight is still crucial.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about understanding the bigger picture, the human factors that can influence market movements and ultimately investment decisions.
Exactly. And that's where the human advisor comes in. They can provide that context, that nuanced perspective that AI might miss. AI might tell you that a certain stock is undervalued based on its financials, but a human advisor can factor in things like the company's reputation, its management team, its overall strategy to get a more complete picture.
That makes sense. So it sounds like the future of finance isn't about replacing humans with robots. It's about creating this collaborative environment where AI and human intelligence work together to achieve better outcomes for everyone.
Exactly. And as AI technology continues to evolve, I think we're going to see even more creative and innovative ways to integrate it into the financial landscape.
This has been a fascinating journey into the world of AI and finance. We've covered so much ground from personalized investing to fraud detection to the evolving role of financial advisors. It's clear that AI is already having a profound impact, and it's only going to become more prevalent in the years to come.
Absolutely. And I think the key takeaway is that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Yeah.
It's up to us to ensure that AI is developed and deployed responsibly, ethically, and with the goal of benefiting society as a whole.
I couldn't agree more. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those big questions because the future of finance is being written right now, and it's a future that we all have a stake in shaping.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks for joining us.